Persona for the PS1 is a not so well known and incredibly rare role-playing game that is heavy on social interaction between a group of self-entitled millennials. Luckily, this game came out well before Twitter, Snapchat, or Facebook were a thing. The kids in this game would have been more busy taking selfies and updating their stupid, freaking status instead of saving the city from certain destruction. A lot of times the characters get into petty arguments over things that don't matter. They insult each other for no good reason at all. The women are hot. The men have beta male hairdos and low testosterone. But the game is great regardless. They're like the people you see working at Hot Topic. That's what they are. They play the victim card. My daddy doesn't get me. He won't let me get my vagina pierced. Society laughs at me. They think I'm like weird and shit. Please respect me. Persona came out in 1996. It's one of the oldest PS1 games around, but it doesn't feel that old. Considering how old the game is, I think it looks very good. The game has an overworld map which is of the main city area, and you're free to go anywhere you want on a 3D map that looks terrible. This part of the game is by far the worst it ever looks graphics-wise. Once you get into a building, you are set in a hallway looking forward in which you guide your character down long corridors in search of your next objectives. The story to Persona is somewhat jumbled and all over the place. It can be hard to follow. The dialogue is all over the place. There are a lot of typos, but it is still a Shin Megami Tensei game. I think that's how it's spelled. But like the other Persona games, the plot of this game involves high school students summoning demons to fight other demons and prominent authority figures. However, unlike its predecessors, Persona chooses the themes of reality and identity instead of morality, even if those themes are mostly developed late in the game. A lot of the major plot development happens in the last hours of the game, the hours preceding it merely building up to this point without doing much of their own. In the game during battles, you can use these beasts that are much like summons from Final Fantasy called personas. Personas are like the beast form of each character's personality. So for example, Rosie O'Donnell's persona would be a sweaty, hairy hog. Lena Dunham's would be a chubby, ugly mermaid with little titties. And Sylvester Stallone's would be like Zeus. Persona's battle system allows you to not only use physical attacks with swords, but it allows you to use guns if you so choose. This is unique, and every character has the ability to use guns. The battles in Persona also allow you to negotiate with demons mid-battle, although this aspect is, at best, a supplement to the regular combat. Each character has their own set of techniques, like dancing or bribing, and each technique affects a given demon differently. How the demons are affected is somewhat of a mystery, as the same action on the same demon can often elicit completely different responses. The game says that the phase of the moon influences how demons behave, to a certain degree, but this influence is hard to see, if it is there at all. In fact, a lot of the negotiation seems steeped in mystery. Depending on the results of the battle, you can end the battle prematurely. Finding out that negotiation does not give you any experience. It feels cheap, especially since speaking to the demons can sometimes require more effort than actually fighting them does, and the rewards do not justify this imbalance. This may not seem like too small an issue to warrant mentioning, but Persona is definitely an RPG with a lot of grind, especially near the end, partly due to the game being designed around it. Rather than receiving a universal lump sum of experience at the end of each battle, each character builds it up over the course of the battle depending on how much they participate in the battle. Although realistic, it is not a forgiving system, since low-level characters cannot participate as much, meaning they will get less experience and require more battles to get the experience that everyone else is receiving. Make no mistake, be warned before you try playing Persona, There is a lot of grinding to be had in this game, and it is not an easy game. In addition to determining a character's relative strength, levels also determine which personae you can get. While obviously the main combat system for the game, actually making and using personae is not available for a considerable amount of time and is more complex than it should be. First, you need 2 spell cards from different demons, which requires winning the demons over in negotiation. Next, you need to bring the cards to a velvet room, which is usually in the mall. When you finally decide to make a persona, you soon discover that your options are, at the same time, wide and extremely limited. Even a few cards present a multitude of possibilities, which is then greatly multiplied when you realize that attaching items changes the end result. But a lot of those are off limits because your level will be too low. This does not include the personae you can create, but for whatever reason, nobody can use, mainly because the game never tells you who can use a persona until it's too late. For some reason, I found myself addicted to getting better in this game, to leveling up, to the excitement of not knowing what the next card would be that I'd get from a demon, if I got one at all. For the most part, though, it does not matter who uses which persona, since their power comes less from their users and more from the personae themselves. This is not to say that there is no strategy in deciding which personae to use. There are many personae to use, all of them with widely different sets of moves and uses. However, this amount of strategy severely drops when it comes to using said personae, as many battles can be won by grinding the same spell until all enemies are dead. This only changes when one enemy will not take damage from that spell, in which case grinding another move works fine. Persona's graphics are what you'd expect from a game that came out in 1996. The overworld map is a 3D top-down looking mess, with the indoor environments being basically long corridors, hallways in 3D setting, looking straight ahead, with rooms in buildings basically being pre-rendered. All in all, Persona is still, I would say, a slightly above average game. But what we all need to remember is that Persona Revelations set the template for the Persona series. And Persona is one of the most beloved RPG franchises in all of video games. And this game played an important part in this series, an integral part to laying the groundwork for this series, and we all need to respect that. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and goodbye, my friends.